the most grossly incompetent man in government, the worst president ever of any country. The whole world is laughing at him. He's a fool. A gentleman named Donald J. Trump. Have you heard of him?
Trump's trial is nearing an end, and Tiny Fingers can feel it slipping away. So he does what he always does when the real world is squeezing him. He goes back to his people. Well, they're kind of like people.
We're laughed at all over the world.
Trump's rallies reveal the truth about the con and his marks.
I think we're probably leading in New Jersey. We had a rally, over 100,000 people this weekend. A lot of the mainstream media didn't want to say how many people. They didn't want to cover it.
That's Tiny Fingers lying yet again about the size of his crowds. Yeah, there were a few retired people there from an all-white suburb, too old to burn crosses, so they got a red hat and showed up. But 100,000? No. Trump lies because Fox, Newsmax, and OAN won't report the truth, because Trump is their truth.
But like all true communist show trials, this is what you call a communist show trial.
And while I admit I have no idea what is wrong with the people who support this grifter, Trump is easier to understand. Being forced to stay in a courtroom and unable to speak while Stormy describes his junk in less than flattering terms, well, for a sociopath, that's hell.
The judges gagged me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflict.
And the truth about Trump is he loves these rallies because unlike the actual job, he doesn't have to do anything except, dance like he's jerking off two oil executives. Trump's rallies are amazing, and that the crowds aren't even paying attention until he says something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Silence of the Lamb. Has anyone ever seen The Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner.
Do you have any idea what he's talking about?
You can't do that stuff. Don't do it. Shut up! When they start leaving, it's time for me to hang it up.
And Tiny Fingers wants you to desperately believe he's loved by everyone.
I am not unpopular.
But the real truth is, the vast majority of America and the world think he's mentally ill. And why wouldn't they?
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Freud would have had a field day with Tiny Fingers. Trump's obsession with the size of his crowds started back at his inauguration, when photographs of Obama's crowds dwarfed Tiny Fingers' sparse numbers. But Sean Spicer and Trump insisted that he was bigger and stronger and, well...
Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period. Both in person and around the globe.
Why does any of this matter? Well, it's all Trump has. And maybe that's the same for these brain-damaged hillbillies. I mean, they're so full of hate, and Trump tapped into that like a kegger on Fraternity Row. And Trump's crowds range from stone-cold racist.
President Trump took his attacks on 4 Democratic lawmakers to a raucous campaign rally in North Carolina last night. His supporters chanted, "Send her back," echoing the president's racist tweet that the 4 women of color should go back to the countries where they came from.
Lieb, Presley, Cortez. Somebody said that's not her name. I don't have time to go with 3 different names. We'll call her Cortez.
To people who burned out in junior high.
Tucker Carlson was on the other night. He said, in his opinion, there's no such thing as hate speech in America. How do you stand on that?
I believe in hate speech. When you have hate for somebody, I am 100% into speech, hate speech, because it's freedom of speech. You can speak.
These are truly Trump's people. And unfortunately for us, they live here.
Because this judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it.
When Trump's trial has an off day, he's like a tweaker in search of a pipe, running directly to a rally to get a hit from America's underbelly.
Executing the baby after birth. Execute the baby. Execute the baby after birth. Run up here screaming like a lunatic. You cannot call Chris Christie a fat pig. You cannot do that. He's a fat pig because you're not allowed to use the fat word. You know, you can use almost any word, but you can't use the fat word. If you call somebody fat, it's career ending. You know who he is? Fat Alvin. We're all fat. Everything they touch turns to what? You shouldn't use that kind of language.
And the truth is, these rallies tell us more about these people than Trump, because we know who Trump is, and he's told us what he'll do if he's elected.
Former president who wants to be the next president said one of his plans is, he talked to Time Magazine, is to round up the 11 to 15 million illegals and then go through them and find out who belongs here and who doesn't. Would you support that?
Absolutely.
But Trump's misfiring synapses?
Hot dogs. Let's talk about hot dogs. I just had one, actually. I just had the best hot dog, so I said, Frank, I'm sorry. Now, Pavarotti was a good friend. First Lady, how great a speech was that? Who else is drawing like that? Nobody could draw crowds like that. How great was I? She said, you were okay. Oh, Donald, I love you so much. You're doing such a good job. That's nice. He's a nice looking, oh, that's me. Tell him you can't do that stuff. Don't do it. Shut up!
While entertaining in a sad and twisted way, offer up dangerous scenarios.
If you don't like our religion, then we don't want you in our country. Legal and you just know I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
Come on, how many of you ask yourself this every day? Who the F are these people, and who would vote for this psychopath? We've seen them, and we've heard their chants.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
Trump and his posse of evil have already set the stage.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's all converging, and now we're on, as they say, the point of attack, right? The point of attack tomorrow. I'll tell you this. It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen.
The moment they might release these cholesterol-heavy Trumpanzees on America in a violent reaction should Trump lose.
Because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged.
And he and his cast of cuckolds have said that anything less than a victory means the election was rigged.
I want to be a dictator.
And after January 6th, we know he will not hesitate to send them into battle, along with the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys.
We will give them pardons.
And after January the 6th, we know he will not hesitate to send them into battle, along with the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys.
Stand back and stand by.
The real question is, if Trump is found guilty on these charges, will Merchan send him to jail, and what then?
If this Judge Chutkan in D.C., this federal judge, if she puts him in jail pending appeal before the election, the country's going to burn.
There's an old saying, if you don't see the con, then you're the mark. But is it possible that Trump's crowds, maybe they're the con and Trump is the mark? This level of hate, racism, and anti-Semitism didn't start with Trump. Go back to Bush 41, where Republicans used race to attack Dukakis. Trump delivered the judges, and now all that early GOP support is gone, forcing Dairy Queen and others to claw and scream for a new party. There will be more rallies, and Trump will continue to feed them hate and anger as they embrace his rapid decline into a dangerous and pathological dementia.
I'm up here screaming like a lunatic.
The next time you look at these crowds, notice the people they position behind Trump. Look into their vacant, confused stares as they wait for Trump to utter yet another ignorant and psychotic attack.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
We should take careful note, because while Trump might be tottering, another Trump is waiting in the wings.
Who's with me?
Time to pack it up.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Am I wrong?
Tick-tock, mother...
Yeah. You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
Follow, like, and please subscribe to Really American, where we keep you up to date on the latest Republican cult lie in this very important year. Hey, and make sure you join us as a member on Patreon, where we can connect directly with you and enable us to expand, make more videos, and hire more hosts. Can't do it without you. For Really American,
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.